Are you tired of people asking you to repeat yourself when you try to speak French? Or maybe you hold yourself back from even trying because you're worried the other person won't understand you or will automatically switch to English. It's okay. Almost all French learners have been there at some point. But you've worked hard to learn French over the past years or even decades, and I want to help you actually use it. That's why in today's lesson, I will share some of my best advice to be better understood when speaking French. Are you ready? C'est parti! The best way to be better understood in French is to master the pronunciation. And okay, I am sure you already know that and you are trying your best, but it is difficult. Especially since la prononciation, French pronunciation, is such a broad topic. From silent letters to la liaison, there is a ton of issues with French pronunciation, I know. But today, what you can do about French pronunciation is to concentrate on one specific angle. Concentrate on the differences between typical French vowels. Typical French vowels include les voyelles nasales. Les voyelles nasales. These are the nasal sounds, you know, like on. Repeat after me. On. You also have en, also written an for the same sound. En. Repeat after me. En. And then you also have un that you can also write un. Un. Repeat after me. Un. Like number 1 in French. On, en, un. Repeat after me. On, en, un. Again. On, en, un. One last time. On, en, un. Good. They're different and it is important. For instance, there is a difference between j'ai besoin de temps, I need time, j'ai besoin de temps, and j'ai besoin de thon, I need some tuna, j'ai besoin de thon. If you make this kind of mistake, obviously French people are going to be confused for a moment. They won't be concentrating on what you're saying next and they won't understand what you're saying then. So repeat after me and mark the difference. On, un, en. Again, on, un, en. I know it's difficult, but try to keep up with me. In words now, le thon for tuna, le thon, le temps for time, le temps, and le teint for time, le teint. But that's not all. By typical French vowels, I also mean le U, as in dessus for on top of dessus. Le OU, as in dessous, under, dessous. The sound E, as in le feu for fire, le feu. And the more open for example, le coiffeur, the hairdresser, le coiffeur.
C'est le vrai monde dehors. Et le vrai monde, il va chez le coiffeur.
For French learners, these sounds can sometimes blend together. And then you have the same problem again. These small confusions add up and you end up having to repeat your sentence 3 times to be understood in full. And worse, it can lead to real ambiguity. Not only between dessus, on top, and dessous, under, for instance, but with a ton of other examples. You will find some of these traps in the blog post for today's lesson. As always, this is where you will find the full written lesson for today's episode, as well as more vocabulary, examples, extracts, and fun resources about the topic. And I highly recommend, especially today, to check out the blog post, because I will include all my free lessons on the specific tips that we are seeing now, such as a video on U versus OU, how to pronounce all the nasal sounds correctly, and more. You only need to click on the link in the description below the video. But let's get back to your conversation. On top of practicing French conversation and everything that we'll cover after that, what you really need to do is to relax. Take your time. If you mess up some pronunciation, a conjugation, vocabulary, grammar, it's not the end of the world. With the context, French people will be able to understand you regardless. If you take your time. Now, that's easier said than done, I know. But the good news is the more you relax, the more you practice, the easier it's going to be. It will be a positive feedback loop that will help you improve your French. So this tip is not as specific as all the others, but maybe it is the most important one. Don't forget to breathe, relax, and have fun when speaking French. So, I hope you're relaxed now because this next tip is infuriating. Les faux amis, literally false friends, are French words that look like another English word, except obviously with a totally different meaning. Like une librairie which is not a library but a bookstore. A French library is une bibliothèque. In this example, the meanings are pretty close, but it's not always the case. Such as between un bras, for an arm, un bras, and un soutien-gorge, which is a bras. Un soutien-gorge. If you're not careful, these false friends can easily create misunderstandings. Like saying j'ai eu une longue journée, for I had a long day. J'ai eu une longue journée. Instead of j'ai fait un long voyage, for I had a long journey. J'ai fait un long voyage. Or for an adjective, saying Martin est très sensible. Martin est très sensible. Martin is very sensitive. When you actually want to say Martin est très raisonnable. Martin est très raisonnable. Martin is very sensible. And actually, well, the word actually in French is en fait when you say the T at the end. En fait. While actuellement means currently. Actuellement means currently. You will find more examples of false friends in the blog post for today's lessons. In your French conversation, the problem with les faux amis is that they often make sense even in context. It means that it might take time to realize that there is a misunderstanding. Take éventuellement, for instance. Éventuellement. It actually means possibly. The English adverb eventually is finalement in French. Finalement. So if you say le train va éventuellement arriver, le train va éventuellement arriver, it means the train might arrive. And it's not le train va finalement arriver, or better yet, le train va finir par arriver. The train is going to arrive eventually. Le train va arriver is the train is going to arrive. This sentence is in a future tense called le futur proche. Le futur proche is the near future. It is a very common tense to express the future in everyday French conversation. It is like saying is going to. The train is going to arrive. This future tense is very easy to master since you only need to practice your conjugation of the verb aller. Aller in French is to go. You will learn more in the blog post for today's lesson. But the point is, this kind of conjugation shortcut can really help French people understand your sentences. You can get an informal tense that French people use in everyday conversation. You can get an easy-to-master template that you can use with any verb. And this gives you more space to relax and take your time for the rest of the sentence. You will be able to concentrate more on what you want to say and your pronunciation. Now, of course, the regular form of the future in French is not that hard to master. What is really helpful is le passé immédiat. You build it with venir de venir de plus infinitif, and it means I just did something. For example, je viens de manger. I just ate. Je viens de manger. I just ate. Or, le train vient de partir. The train just left. Le train vient de partir. I mentioned it before, but you'll find much more about this topic in the blog post for today's lesson, as I made a full lesson on this precise topic. This one is a past tense that is much easier to use than l'imparfait and especially le passé composé, and way less irregular too. You will still need to practice the other past tenses at some point. But in a pinch, using le passé immédiat with venir de can really help you say a clear, understandable sentence, or help you concentrate on the other French difficulties of your conversation. But what if you're talking to French people and they still can't understand you? What if they're looking at you with a puzzled look and half smile and you know that they're not getting what you're saying at all? Well, that's where you can use scripts to clear up any confusion. By which I mean some sentences that you can master today, right now, and repeat to yourself from time to time so that you can really remember them when needed. The good news is that they can be quite simple. For instance, simply saying je veux dire, which means I mean, or literally, I want to say. Je veux dire. It is a filler expression that lets you reformulate your sentence. Like, le train va arriver éventuellement. Je veux dire, le train va finir par arriver. The train might possibly arrive. I mean, the train will eventually arrive. It is a good way to make sure that they understand you. For example, c'est ça? Is this it? It's a very simple way to make sure they understand you. Or you can be more specific. Est-ce que c'est correct? Is this correct? Est-ce que c'est correct? Or also, c'est la bonne prononciation? Is it the correct pronunciation? C'est la bonne prononciation? Or better yet, ça se dit comme ça? Is this how you say it? Ça se dit comme ça? Repeat after me. Ça se dit comme ça? Good. If you want, you can even be more to the point. For example, tu comprends? Do you understand? Tu comprends? This tu form is used for friends and family. If you want to talk to a stranger, you can say vous comprenez? Vous comprenez? So now, let's take a minute to recap. Concentrate on hearing and pronouncing the French vowels differently. For example, on, and e. Relax and take your time. Learn some faux amis like actuellement and en fait. Practice some simple tenses like le passé immédiat that you build with venir de and l'infinitif. And at last, master a few scripts. Like ça se dit comme ça and tu comprends? This way you will start to get rid of a big share of misunderstandings in French. Congratulations! You can check out the blog post for today's lesson by clicking on the link below the video in the description. Or you can keep learning real spoken French with the Netflix show Call My Agent or 10% in French. Click right here on your screen and I will see you there. Allez, à tout de suite!